Hello, everyone. This is Andrew. Welcome to Atomo, Saturday, January 7th, a day after a great House debate in the U.S. Congress, looking to get a House Speaker elected. And with the slim majority that the Republicans have, there were some holdouts within the Republican Party that actually made for some interesting debate. So I had a bit of fun watching that on Friday night. And it's great to have a good, rambunctious House of Parliament. They're always fun, at least that's my opinion. I do like the debate that comes out and the fact that you can start to hold some of these swamp creatures accountable. Hopefully. So hopefully there's a little miracle that happened there. Let's take a look at. Let's go over to some notes about what actually were some of the concessions that came up. So let's take a look at this. So there was a change when Nancy Pelosi was speaker that prior to the change that only a single congressperson needed to put in a motion in order to remove the speaker. So the one group was called the Freedom Caucus wanted this uh, concession put back in. Pelosi took it out. And what that means is just say that now that McCarthy is the House Speaker, that if he were not to he were to renege on one of the agreements, then they could put it to a vote and they could lock up the Speaker. And then they just vote to replace the Speaker. Then they have to go through the roll call vote again. Then the same things that can happen that we've seen as taking multiple rounds in order to get the speaker put into place. And well, anything can happen. People can, work out a contingency plan in case that happens. But let's see what happens. So that's the first point. The second point is this church style committee is to look into how they're using the FBI and other organs of the government against the American people. And this is a very nasty thing that's been happening, where you have your organs of your state starting to grow and envelop the people. The USA has constitutional rights enshrined for people through the amendments, and the three-letter agencies have been slowly grinding that down. And there's some speculation. I'm going to call this speculation that there might be some European influence in that, especially with some of the past presidents. And I could go into a lot of detail on this, but I don't want to do that this video on what some of those connections might be and some of those factions. I do talk a bit about that in other videos. They want to kind of hopefully defang some of these agencies for when they're going out after the American people. Okay. Term limits put up for a vote. So the idea of a term limit, I think from what I read in other sources, that it's 3 terms, so 3 4-year terms. The idea with this is as the people stay in power for a long time, it's possible that they could, once they become part of the administrative state and they keep getting reelected in, because it could be like a deep red state or a deep blue state, and you always have this person that always comes up and um, curries a lot of favor. So there are specific uh, conventions keep these people in these particular seats and then grift through them. The term limit then takes away that incentive for grift and corruption to kind of take a foothold. over a period of time. And so you hope that it gets to a point where their time's limited and perhaps they'll start doing something correctly, because they won't be able to uh, keep their little, however they line their pockets with what they do. So that's, yeah, it's up for a vote. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. The idea here is, again, that keeping term limits down to a lower level means that they'll work more for the people. On the next note, the omnibus bill that went through right at the end of the year, it was just rammed through and it didn't have any time to take a look at it. I think it was thousands of pages, 4,000 or something like that. It was kind of a ridiculous document to read, and I think a lesson a day to go through and determine what's all in there. And as we analyze, there's a lot of pork spending in it. Pork meaning it's just junk spending, just to fatten up the bill. Most likely is there's promises made, and these promises have to get slammed into the bill, and then your Congress critters just nod at it and push it through. And so what they want to do is they want to break it down so you don't have these large omnibus bills, and you have these single subject bills, easier to read, easier to follow. And look at that, 72-hour minimum period to read them. So that helps to, yeah, it makes it even easier for us to see what's going on, makes things more transparent. We don't have to analyze the bills after the fact. Texas border plan. So the idea is to increase border security. The countries can't keep taking in massive amounts of immigrants. The immigrants need time to assimilate and acclimate to the particular culture. So for me, I don't expect to go over to some place in Asia and have them completely change the ways that they do things to accommodate me. That's not the way it works. When you go to another person's house, you accommodate to their rules. Same thing when you go to another country. They have their rules, they have their way of working, and if you're not compliant with that, especially if you break the law, you should be removed. Just we want people to come here and integrate well. And probably in a future video, what I'll do is talk about the problems of immigration, and we can't solve all the problems by bringing immigrants into. If you want to separate them to have or have not countries, I think a lot of countries are actually have countries. It's just what they do is through corruption. This is kind of what we're seeing with slowly in the United States, is as the corruption keeps increasing, quality of life starts to degrade. A lot of other problems start coming into play, and then you're no longer able to be kind of a beacon of hope or pass on knowledge to other countries or help influence countries, not dropping bombs on them. That's ridiculous. I don't condone that. But looking at the ways that they are handling their country, why people can't make it within their country, and then potentially slowly changing that over time, rather than just open up borders, because the amount of people being kind of born, or if we call it a replacement of the people that left the country, there's more people being added to. If we look at the global south, for example, there's more people being added to those countries than the ones that are emigrating out of those countries. So it's a game that you can't quite win. So problems have to be solved within those particular countries. COVID mandates will be ended, as well as funding for them, including so-called emergency funding. So finally, this has been a nasty thing that's demolished economies across the world, is the lockdowns, all this funding. And there's other countries that purchased way too many of the products needed to solve COVID, and then they oversupply and they paid for all this stuff, and the grift keeps going on. Um, Yeah, so there we have it. Those were some of the concessions that were needed in order for the few remaining holdout votes to um, be flipped, and we'll see where it goes from here. So hopefully this gives us a bit of a more streamlined and easier Congress, the 118th Congress, to watch and comment on. Happy to see so many people that are now into politics. I'm Canadian, looking at American politics, because it's, there's a lot of us in this together, just to make sure that us little people have a chance to see a bright future for ourselves, our children, grandchildren, whatever that may be. So thank you very much, and have a great day.